I'm going to pick up where Beth left off and talk a little bit about New Jersey and Florida. New Jersey was interesting because they have had historically very poor inclusion rates. And this study has really been focused on policies that promote better inclusion. In New Jersey, litigation in 2013 resulted in a state commitment to provide 3 years of targeted support to 76 of the 673 districts, the 76 that had the worst inclusion rates. Next slide. So among the other things that the state did, they provided technical assistance to these districts around the areas that you see on the slide. And overall, the results were quite positive. A majority of the 76 districts, at the end of 3 years, had addressed the concerns in the lawsuit. Half were compliant in all areas, and the other half were compliant in most areas. After the 3 years, the state re-upped its commitment and signed on to a 5-year agreement to extend technical assistance statewide and then provide more targeted support for those districts with the lowest inclusion rates. Next one is Florida. Florida was interesting to us because not only does it have similar student demographics to California, but it also had much higher inclusion rates. And part of this is a result of 2013 legislation that in which Florida clearly defined what inclusion meant. It gave a clear definition that featured not only what students with disabilities should receive, but also what teachers and administrators needed. Next slide. The other part of this legislation introduced the best practices for inclusive education, the BPI, which is a self-assessment that every school and every district in the state must conduct every 3 years. And this, the BPI is, this assessment is conducted by stakeholders under the guidance of a trained facilitator. And the stakeholders include general education teachers, special education teachers, administrators, parents, and in some cases, students. Next is a little more detail on the BPI. I'd recommend that you take a look at our report to get the full details, but basically the BPI includes 34 indicators. It involves a one-day session of the stakeholders and their facilitator. During that session, they identify priority areas and they make plans for addressing the priority best practices. And notably, the plan is included in the school improvement plans. Next slide. So currently, Florida's inclusion rates are approaching 80%. And in addition to that, although we don't claim causality here, the achievement outcomes for Florida's students with disabilities have been really trending in the right direction. The 2019 fourth grade reading scores for Florida's students with disabilities are more than 15 points above the national average and more than 25 points above California. In addition, the gap between Florida students with disabilities and its general education students on the same fourth grade test is about 30 points compared to a more than 45-point gap in California. So last slide. All of this led to 4 basic recommendations. First one, we would encourage the state to develop a radar-like data system similar to what Massachusetts has. Following New Jersey's lead, we recommend that the state provide much more targeted support to the districts than it's currently doing. Third, we would encourage the state to implement a BPI-like system, similar to what Florida has done. But we would urge schools and districts not to wait for the state to do this, but to take a look at the BPI and see about implementing it locally. And finally, we think it's important that the state draw upon the experience and expertise of officials and advocates from other states. So I'll turn it back to you, Jeannie. Thank you.